My wife destroyed our marriage at a dinner party I'd spent 2 days preparing. My name is Alex Herman, and I'm 33 years old. Jenna thought it would be hilarious to tell her friends that her ex-boyfriend Todd was bigger than me. She laughed. They laughed. And something inside me just broke. Not in a sad, pathetic way, but in a cold, clarifying way that made me realize I'd been blind for months. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I just stood up from that table, walked out of my own dining room, and decided right then that if she wanted to destroy our marriage for cheap laughs, I'd make damn sure she'd regret every second of it. This is how I turned the worst night of my life into the best decision I ever made. But let me start from the beginning. Before I go any further, let me know in the comments where in the world you are watching from, and make sure to subscribe because tomorrow I will share a story you don't want to miss. I'd spent 48 hours marinating those short ribs. 48 hours. The pasta was made from scratch that morning, rolled out by hand on our kitchen counter until my forearms burned. I actually enjoyed this part. The cooking, the hosting, the careful choreography of timing everything so it all came out perfect. These dinner parties were supposed to be our thing, mine and Jenna's. 5 years married, 8 years together, and we'd been doing this dance for most of it. I could smell the garlic and rosemary as I pulled the ribs from the oven, the meat falling off the bone exactly like it should. Beautiful. The table was set with the good dishes, candles lit, wine breathing on the sideboard. Everything perfect. Riza and Damian Adamson arrived first, right at 7. Riza hugged Jenna in that squealing way women do when they haven't seen each other in a few weeks, even though they literally had lunch together last Tuesday. Damian shook my hand and complimented the smell coming from the kitchen. Eliza and Greg Whitmore showed up 10 minutes later with a bottle of wine and apologies about traffic. We'd known these people for years. Good people, I'd thought. Friends. Dinner started perfectly. Everyone raved about the short ribs. Riza asked for my pasta recipe. We opened the second bottle of wine, then the third. Conversation flowed easy. Work stories, vacation plans, some mild gossip about people from their college days that I half knew. Then Jenna started talking about Todd. I didn't think much of it at first. Just old college stories, the kind everyone shares after enough wine. Her ex-boyfriend from before we met. I'd heard the name maybe 3 times in 8 years. God, Todd was such a flirt, Jenna said, swirling her wine glass. Remember Riza? He'd hit on anything that moved. Riza laughed. Didn't he try to date you and Eliza at the same time? Different semesters, Eliza corrected, grinning. I was smart enough to say no. I refilled water glasses, half listening. Then Eliza, who'd had maybe 1 glass too many, leaned forward with a mischievous expression. Okay, controversial question. What do we actually miss about our exes? Like, be honest. Greg groaned. Oh, here we go. I'm serious. There's got to be something, right? Even if they were terrible, there's always one thing. Eliza looked around the table. Come on, safe space. Damian shifted uncomfortably. Riza giggled and said something about an ex who could salsa dance. I was cutting into my short rib when Jenna got this look on her face. This mischievous, calculated look that should have been my first warning. Oh, I definitely don't miss Todd's personality, she said, and everyone chuckled. The guy was a narcissist. But I will say, she paused, and I felt something cold settle in my chest. He was definitely bigger than Alex here. The table went silent for exactly 1 second. Then Riza burst out laughing, a real, genuine cackle that made her nearly spill her wine. Eliza's eyes went wide, her hand flying to her mouth, but she was smiling. Damian stared at his plate. Greg coughed and reached for his water. I felt my face flush, but it wasn't embarrassment. It was white-hot rage that I immediately channeled into something ice-cold and controlled. My hand was completely steady as I set down my fork. I wiped my mouth with my napkin, taking my time, and looked directly at Jenna. Her smile faltered slightly when she saw my expression. That's an interesting thing to say, I said quietly. Care to elaborate on why you're thinking about Todd's dick at our dinner table? Oh my God, Alex, it's just a joke. No. I cut her off, my voice sharp enough to make her flinch. You just sexually humiliated your husband in front of our guests, in our home, at a dinner I spent 2 days preparing. So I'm asking you, Jenna, why are you thinking about your ex-boyfriend's penis? Because that seems like something you should probably examine. Riza stopped laughing. The whole table was staring at us now. Jenna's face went red. You're being ridiculous. Everyone shares stories about their exes. Comparing genitalia isn't sharing stories, I said, standing up. My chair scraped against the hardwood. That's you disrespecting me, our marriage, and yourself. And you know what? I'm done. I looked at Damien, Greg, Riza, Eliza. I apologize that you had to witness this. The food's in the kitchen if you want more. I'm going for a drive. Alex, sit down. Jenna's voice had gone shrill. You're embarrassing me? I laughed. Actually laughed, and it wasn't a nice sound. I'm embarrassing you? That's rich. You just told 4 people that you're apparently still fixated on your ex's dick. But I'm the embarrassment? I grabbed my keys from the counter. Enjoy your evening, everyone. I'm sure Jenna has more fascinating stories about Todd to share. Don't you dare walk out that door. I turned back to her. Whatever she saw in my face made her take a step backward. Watch me, I said. I walked straight through our living room, out the front door, and got in my car. Behind me, I could hear Jenna shouting my name from the doorway, her voice carrying across the quiet suburban street. I started the engine and drove away. I didn't drive away immediately. I just sat there in the driveway, hands shaking on the steering wheel, staring at our porch light. My brain was working now. Working with cold, crystalline clarity that cut through the rage. Why was she thinking about Todd? In 8 years together, Jenna had barely mentioned him except in passing. Oh, I dated this guy in college. That kind of thing. Nothing specific, nothing detailed. Certainly nothing about his anatomy. And that comment? It wasn't random. It was too specific, too pointed. Like she'd wanted to hurt me. Like she'd been thinking about it, planning it, waiting for the right moment to humiliate me in front of people we both knew. But why? I pulled out my phone with hands that had stopped shaking. We were on a family cell plan, had been since we got married. One of those little conveniences that seemed smart at the time. Shared data, cheaper rates, easy to manage, and full access to call logs. I opened the account portal and navigated to Jenna's line. Started scrolling through the calls from the past month, then 2 months, then 3. There it was, an unknown number, over and over and over, dozens of calls, some lasting 5 minutes, some lasting over an hour. Calls at 11 p.m., midnight, 2 a.m. Calls made on Wednesday afternoons when she'd told me she was in back-to-back client meetings. Calls on Saturday mornings when she'd said she was going to the gym. I counted them. 47 calls in the past 3 months alone. My hands were completely steady now as I copied the number and pulled up a reverse lookup site on my phone, typed it in, hit search, Todd Rodriguez. I sat there in my car, staring at that name on my screen, and everything clicked into place like puzzle pieces I'd been too stupid to see. The late nights at work that had started 3 months ago. The new lingerie I'd found in her drawer, black lace, expensive, tags still on, that she'd never worn for me. The way she'd been distant in bed, distracted, like she was thinking about someone else. The sudden interest in girls' nights out with Riza and Eliza. She wasn't just thinking about Todd, she was fucking him. I started the car and drove. Not aimlessly, I knew exactly where I was going. The 24-hour copy shop on Morrison Street was still open, fluorescent lights buzzing in the empty parking lot. I went inside, logged into our cell account on one of their public computers, and printed every single phone record from the past 3 months. 47 pages, every call, every timestamp, every piece of evidence I needed. The kid behind the counter, couldn't have been more than 20, gave me a sympathetic look when I paid. Rough night? You have no idea, I said. From there, I drove straight to Stephen Parker's place. Stephen and I went back to college, same fraternity, stayed friends after graduation even though our lives went different directions. He'd become a divorce attorney, successful one too. Big house in the suburbs, nice car, reputation for being absolutely ruthless in court. I rang his doorbell at 11 p.m. He answered in sweatpants and a t-shirt, hair sticking up, squinting at me through the porch light. Alex? What the hell? I need a lawyer, I said. As in, right now. My wife's cheating on me, and I want to destroy her before she knows what's happening. Stephen stared at me for exactly 3 seconds. Then he stepped aside. Get in here. He made coffee. Strong black coffee that tasted like motor oil and cleared my head completely. We sat at his kitchen table, the same table where I'd eaten Sunday dinners with him and his wife before their divorce 2 years ago. And I laid it all out. The dinner party, the comment, the phone records I'd printed. Everything. Stephen listened without interrupting, his lawyer brain already working. When I finished, he leaned back in his chair and nodded. Okay, here's what we're going to do. We spent the next 3 hours going through everything. Stephen asked questions I hadn't thought of: asset distribution, shared accounts, property division, evidence gathering. He took notes in a legal pad, his handwriting quick and precise. You're in a fault-based state, he said. Adultery is grounds for divorce, and with phone records this extensive, we've got a strong case. You want to file immediately? Before she has time to hide anything, I said. Before she knows I know. Stephen smiled. Not a friendly smile. A professional one. I like the way you think. By 2 a.m., we had a plan. By 4 a.m., I'd signed a retainer agreement, and Stephen was officially my attorney. By 6 a.m., Stephen had filed the divorce petition electronically with the county clerk, complete with a motion for fault-based dissolution citing adultery. Process server will deliver these to her workplace at 2 p.m. today, Stephen said, sliding a copy of the papers across his kitchen table to me. She won't see it coming. I picked up the papers. Petition for dissolution of marriage. My name, her name, legal language that reduced 8 years to a few paragraphs. Thank you, I said. Stephen walked me to the door. The sun was just starting to come up, painting his lawn gold. Alex, you did the right thing. Don't let her convince you otherwise. I walked to my car, divorce papers in hand, and for the first time in hours, I let myself feel it. Not the rage, not the betrayal, the relief. I didn't go home. The idea of walking back into that house, seeing Jenna's face, listening to her excuses. I couldn't do it. Not yet. Not while I was still this raw. I checked into a Marriott downtown at 6:30 a.m. Different hotel chain than the one she'd used, but the irony wasn't lost on me. The clerk didn't ask questions when I showed up with no luggage, just handed me a key card and told me breakfast started at 7. I went upstairs, locked the door, and stood in the middle of the generic hotel room for a solid minute. Beige walls, floral bedspread, painting of a lighthouse that matched nothing. The kind of place designed to be forgettable. Perfect. I ordered room service, eggs, bacon, coffee I didn't drink, and then I got in the shower. I sat down right there on the tile floor, let the water run hot until the bathroom filled with steam, and I finally let myself feel it. The betrayal hit like a physical thing. 3 months. She'd been lying to my face for 3 months, kissing me goodbye in the morning and then meeting Todd for afternoon hotel visits, using our money to pay for it, looking me in the eye over dinner while she planned her next lie. But I didn't cry. The hurt was there, sure, buried underneath everything else. But what I felt most was anger. Cold, clarifying anger that sharpened into something like purpose. If she wanted to destroy our marriage, fine. But she was going to face every single consequence. I stayed in that shower for an hour. My phone started blowing up around noon. Call after call. Text after text. I watched them come in without answering a single one. Where are you? Alex, this is ridiculous. Call me. You're being insane. Come home so we can talk. I'm worried about you. Please, I'm sorry. Just come home. 73 calls over the next 2 days. 46 texts, each one more desperate than the last. I read every single one and didn't respond to any of them. Stephen had given me a name before I left his place. Daniel Harrison. Retired cop. 15 years on the force before he went private. Stephen said Daniel was thorough, discreet, and expensive. I called him from the hotel. I need surveillance, I said, on my wife and her affair partner. I need proof, photographs, timeline, everything. Daniel's voice was gravelly, matter of fact. How soon? Yesterday. He laughed. I like you already. Send me the details. Within 48 hours, Daniel had everything I needed. He called me at the hotel Wednesday afternoon. Got your photos, he said. She met him at a Marriott on Fletcher Street, 2:07 p.m. GPS timestamp confirmed. They went in together, came out separately 2 hours later. You want me to keep following them? Yeah, keep going. The photos came through on my phone minutes later. Crystal clear images of Jenna walking across a parking lot with Todd Rodriguez, his hand on her lower back, her laughing at something he said. Both of them disappearing through the hotel entrance, 2 p.m. on a Wednesday, when she'd told me she had a client meeting until 5. I stared at those photos until the screen went dark, but divorce evidence wasn't enough. I wanted more than a favorable settlement. I wanted her entire world to collapse the same way mine had. So I started digging into Todd Rodriguez. Took me about 20 minutes on social media to find his fiancée. Carmen Jensen, pediatric nurse at Children's Hospital, smiling photos of her and Todd at restaurants, on vacation, at what looked like family gatherings. Her profile was public, full of wedding planning posts. Spring wedding, next year. She'd picked out bridesmaid dresses already. She had absolutely no idea her fiancé was screwing his ex-girlfriend in hotel rooms during his lunch breaks. I kept digging, found Todd's business page, Rodriguez and Adamson Consulting. Wait, Adamson? I clicked through. Sure enough, Damian Adamson, Riza's husband from the dinner party, Todd's business partner, small world. I saved everything, screenshots, links, contact information. Then I went after the financial records. Our joint credit card statements showed hotel charges going back 3 months. Same hotels, same amounts, always on weekdays when she'd claimed to be working late or meeting clients. I recovered deleted text messages from our cloud backup. She'd been sloppy, hadn't realized they were being saved. Messages to Todd that made my stomach turn. Can't wait to see you tomorrow. Tell C you have a meeting. That's how she referred to Carmen. Just the letter C. I built a timeline. Every lie, every hotel visit, every text message. 3 months of systematic betrayal, documented and organized. By day 5, I had everything I needed. Evidence for the divorce, evidence for Carmen, evidence for Damian, a complete irrefutable case. I checked out of the hotel that evening and drove home. Jenna's car was in the driveway, just like I knew it would be. The porch light was on. Through the window, I could see her moving around the kitchen. I sat in the car for a moment, phone in my hand, looking at Daniel's photographs one more time. Then I got out and walked toward my own front door. I walked through the front door at 6 p.m. sharp. Jenna practically ran from the kitchen when she heard me come in. "Alex, oh my God, where have you been?" "I've been so worried." "You've been served, right?" I said, setting my keys on the hall table. "The divorce papers?" Her face went completely white. "Alex, we need to talk about this. You're overreacting." "I'm overreacting?" I pulled out my phone and opened the photo gallery. "These are from Wednesday. That's you walking into a Marriott with Todd Rodriguez at 2:14 p.m. You told me you had a client meeting until 5. I swiped to the next photo. "This is Friday. Same hotel, different time. Want to see more? I've got 3 months' worth of phone records showing you've called him 247 times. Some of those calls lasted over an hour. At 11 p.m., midnight, 2 a.m. Jenna's mouth opened and closed. No sound came out. How did I get evidence that my wife is a cheating liar?" I laughed, but there wasn't any warmth in it. It's called not being a complete idiot. Though, I'll admit, I was pretty stupid for not noticing sooner. "Alex, please, let me explain." "Explain what?" I pocketed my phone. "That you've been screwing your ex-boyfriend for 3 months? That you've been using our money to pay for hotel rooms? That you humiliated me in front of our friends because you were comparing me to the guy you've been cheating with?" My voice had gotten very quiet, very cold. "What exactly do you think you can explain that would make any of this okay?" She started crying, real tears streaming down her face. "It was a mistake. I was confused. He reached out to me on social media and we started talking and it just happened. I never meant to hurt you." "But you did hurt me, repeatedly, for 3 months." I walked past her toward the bedroom. "I'm packing some things. The divorce is happening. You can either make it easy or make it expensive, but either way, you're losing." She followed me down the hall. "Alex, please, I love you. It was just sex. It didn't mean anything." I spun around so fast she actually stumbled backward. "Just sex? You risked our marriage, our home, our entire life together for just sex?" I stared at her. "Do you hear how insane that sounds? We can go to counseling. We can fix this." Her voice had gone shrill, desperate. "Please, I made a mistake, but we can work through it." "No." I pulled a duffel bag from the closet and started throwing clothes into it. "We can't, because I don't want to fix this. I want out. And more than that, I want you to face consequences." "What does that mean?" I zipped the bag closed and grabbed a second one for toiletries. When I looked at her, I let her see exactly what I was feeling. Cold anger, complete resolve, zero sympathy. I smiled. It wasn't kind. "You'll find out." Her face crumpled. "Alex, don't do this. You already did it." I walked past her again, both bags in hand. "You made the choice at that dinner party. You made the choice every single time you called Todd. You made the choice every single time you walked into that hotel. This," I gestured between us, This is just you finding out what happens next." She was sobbing now, following me back down the hall toward the front door. "Please, I'm sorry. I'll do anything. You should have thought about that before." I opened the door. "My lawyer will be in touch. Don't call me. Don't text me. We're done." "Where are you going?" "Anywhere but here." I walked out and loaded my bags into the car. Through the open door, I could see her standing in the hallway, arms wrapped around herself, crying so hard her whole body shook. I didn't feel sorry for her. I got in the car and drove to the furnished apartment downtown Stephen had helped me arrange. 1 bedroom, month-to-month lease, clean slate. The first night in my new place, I unpacked my bags and sat on the couch in complete silence. Then I pulled out my phone and made the first call. Carmen Jensen answered on the second ring. The morning after I moved into the furnished apartment, I woke up at 6:30 with absolute clarity about what came next. Stephen was already working on freezing our joint accounts and filing motions to divide assets. He'd called me the night before to confirm that since we lived in a fault-based state and I had concrete evidence of adultery, I was in a strong position to get a favorable settlement. But that wasn't enough. Not even close. I made coffee in the tiny kitchen and pulled out my phone. The evidence package from Daniel sat in my email, organized and damning. Every photograph, every phone record, every hotel receipt, everything. I pulled up the contact information I'd found for Carmen Jensen and took a breath. Then I made the call. She answered on the second ring. "Hello? Hi, Carmen. My name is Alex. You don't know me, but I think we need to talk about Todd Rodriguez." Silence. Then, "Who is this?" "I'm the husband of the woman your fiancé has been sleeping with for the past 3 months." I kept my voice steady, factual. "Her name is Jenna. I have photographs, phone records, and hotel receipts. I thought you should know before you marry him." I heard her breathing get ragged. "This is some kind of joke." "I wish it was." I switched to my email. "I'm going to text you my email address right now. Check your inbox in 5 minutes. I'm sending you everything." I paused. "I'm sorry you're finding out this way. Really. But you deserve to know who you're marrying." I sent her my contact information, then forwarded the complete evidence package Daniel had compiled. Every single piece of documentation that proved what Todd and Jenna had been doing. Then I waited. 2 hours later, my phone rang. Carmen's number. "I broke off the engagement," she said. Her voice sounded hollow, empty. He tried to deny it at first, but I showed him the photos and he admitted it. All of it. "I'm sorry," I said, and I meant it. "You didn't deserve this." "Neither did you." She took a shaky breath. "Thank you for telling me. I know that couldn't have been easy." "Actually," I said, "that was the easiest call I've made all week." We hung up. I stared at my phone for a moment, then pulled up Damian Adamson's number. Time for the next domino to fall. He answered on the third ring. "Alex? Man, I've been meaning to call you. That dinner party was awkward as hell, and Riza feels terrible about laughing. Damian, I need to tell you something about your business partner." "What? About Todd?" I explained everything. The affair, the 3 months of lies, the evidence, the fact that Todd had been engaged to Carmen while screwing Jenna behind everyone's back. "Jesus Christ," Damian said when I finished. "Todd's been cheating with Jenna this whole time?" "For 3 months, yeah. And honestly, I'm calling because I think you should know what kind of person you're in business with." I let that sink in. Someone who'd lie to his fiancée and help destroy someone's marriage? That's not someone I'd trust with my business interests. Damian was quiet for a long moment. I could almost hear him thinking. "I appreciate you telling me," he finally said. This changes things. We've got some major clients who value integrity. If this got out..." "I'm not planning to make it public," I said, "but I thought you deserved to know who you're partnered with." Yeah, I did need to know this." He exhaled slowly. "Thanks, Alex. And for what it's worth, I'm really sorry about what happened at that dinner. We all should have said something." We hung up. I sat on the couch in my empty apartment and looked around. Bare walls, furniture that didn't belong to me. No photos, no memories, no traces of the life I'd had 5 days ago. But I didn't feel hollow anymore. I felt focused. Todd's fiancée had left him. His business partner now knew exactly what kind of person he was. And this was just the beginning. The social destruction had started, and I'd barely lifted a finger. All I'd done was tell people the truth. 2 days after I made those calls, the Whisper Network did exactly what I knew it would do. Carmen wasn't quiet about why she'd ended her engagement. She told her friends, her family, her co-workers at the hospital, and those people told other people, and suddenly Todd Rodriguez's reputation was circling the drain faster than water down a sink. But I wasn't done with Jenna's social circle. I texted Riza Adamson and asked if she'd meet me for coffee. She agreed immediately. We met at a place downtown the next afternoon. Riza was already sitting at a corner table when I walked in, and she stood up the second she saw me. "Alex, I am so sorry about that dinner," she said before I'd even sat down. What Jenna said was completely out of line, and I shouldn't have laughed. It was awful. I've felt terrible about it ever since. "I appreciate that," I said, sliding into the chair across from her. "But I need to tell you something. Jenna's been having an affair with Todd Rodriguez for 3 months. That comment at dinner? It wasn't random. She was actively sleeping with him and decided to humiliate me about it in front of everyone." Riza's face went pale. Actually pale. "Oh my God. I'm getting divorced. It's happening. The papers are filed. Everything." I kept my voice steady, factual. "But I thought you should know that your friend isn't who you think she is." Riza looked stricken. She pressed her hand to her mouth for a second, then lowered it. "Damien told me about the affair, about Todd. But I didn't realize." She shook her head. "Jesus, Alex. That's so much worse than I thought." "Yeah, it is." I stood up. "I just wanted you to know the truth. What you do with it is up to you." I left her sitting there, staring into her coffee cup like it might have answers. Within a week, Jenna's entire social world imploded. Riza stopped answering her calls. I know because Jenna left me a voicemail, angry, desperate, complaining that her friends were abandoning her for no reason. Eliza Whitmore, who'd always made a big deal about being pro-woman and supporting female friendships, apparently drew a hard line at public humiliation combined with infidelity. The group chat they'd all been in together went silent. Girls' nights out stopped happening. Jenna was suddenly very, very alone. And I felt nothing but cold satisfaction. The divorce proceedings moved faster than Jenna expected. Steve was ruthless. He documented everything. Every hotel charge on our joint credit card, every deleted text message I'd recovered from the cloud backup, every lie she'd told about working late. In our state, using marital funds for an affair is called dissipation of marital assets, and judges don't look kindly on it. We went to mediation 3 weeks after that dinner party. 3 weeks that felt like 3 years. Jenna showed up with some lawyer she'd found. Guy looked fresh out of law school, cheap suit, nervous energy. He was completely out of his depth the second Steve started laying out the evidence. I sat across the table from Jenna and watched her face crumble as she realized how thoroughly I'd documented everything. Every lie, every betrayal, every single thing she'd done. Steve slid the settlement offer across the table. "My client is willing to offer the following terms," he said in that cold, professional voice that made me grateful he was on my side. "Mr. Herman keeps the house, his retirement accounts, and his separate property. Mrs. Herman gets her retirement account, her car, and 20% of the marital assets instead of the usual 50%. "That's not fair," Jenna burst out, her voice going shrill. "I'm entitled to half." Steve smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. "You were entitled to half until you committed adultery and spent marital funds on your affair, Mrs. Herman. My client is being generous. The alternative is we go to trial, put all of this evidence on the public record, and you likely get even less, possibly nothing, depending on how the judge feels about your behavior." Her lawyer, I think his name was Marcus Brennan or something equally forgettable, leaned over and whispered something in her ear. I watched Jenna's face go red, then white, then settle into something like defeated rage. "Fine," she bit out. "But fine." We signed the papers right there. Just like that, after 8 years together, 5 of them married, it was over. The marriage was done. 1 month after we signed those papers, I started hearing things. You know how it goes. Mutual acquaintances, people who knew both of us, they'd reach out. "Hey, I heard about you and Jenna. I'm sorry, man." And then they'd tell me things I hadn't asked about but somehow needed to hear anyway. Jenna's life had completely fallen apart. Todd dumped her. Not gradually, not with any kind of dignity, just straight up ghosted her the second Carmen found out about the affair. Turns out, Todd never had any intention of leaving Carmen for Jenna. He just wanted the affair, the excitement, the sex with an ex-girlfriend. And once that got complicated, he was done. Jenna had to move in with her mother. Couldn't afford to live on her own with just her marketing salary, not after the settlement. I heard she'd tried to find a roommate situation, but word had gotten around. Nobody wanted to live with that woman. Her friend group, Riza, Eliza, all of them, had completely iced her out. Riza had apparently told everyone the full story. Not just Alex and Jenna are getting divorced, but the whole ugly truth. The affair, the public humiliation at the dinner party, everything. Jenna was now known as the woman who publicly humiliated her husband while actively cheating on him. Hard to come back from that kind of reputation. Her job wasn't going well either. I heard through the grapevine that her boss, some marketing director named Laura Fitzpatrick, knew Carmen Jensen through a professional networking group. Small world, right? Jenna didn't get fired. That would have been too obvious. But she definitely wasn't getting promoted anytime soon. Definitely wasn't getting the plum accounts or the conference trips. And Todd? His business partnership with Damien was circling the drain. Damien had started looking for buyout options. Several major clients had quietly dropped Todd's firm once word of the affair spread through professional circles. Reputation matters in consulting. Trust matters. And Todd had proven he couldn't be trusted. Everything I'd wanted to happen was happening. The revenge was complete. The justice was served. The divorce was final. So why did I feel so hollow? I sat in my apartment one night, eating takeout Chinese food straight from the container, and I couldn't shake this feeling of emptiness. I'd won. Jenna had lost everything. Todd had lost everything. I'd walked away with the house, the assets, my dignity intact. But I didn't feel satisfied. I just felt empty. Maybe that's what revenge does. Maybe it doesn't actually fill the hole someone else creates. Maybe it just gives you something to focus on while the wound tries to heal. I don't know. All I knew was that I'd achieved everything I set out to do, and somehow it still wasn't enough. 2 months after the divorce finalized, I was sitting at home on a Saturday afternoon when my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I opened it and my stomach dropped. It was a photo of me, sitting across from Riza at that coffee shop where I'd told her about the affair. The angle suggested someone had been watching from across the street, zooming in through the window. Below the photo, "Moving on already? How fast you forget your wife." I stared at the message. Then I checked my social media. That's when I saw what Jenna was doing. She'd launched a full campaign. Posts about emotional abuse and controlling behavior. Vague posts about narcissists who play the victim. She'd even started a goddamn TikTok account where she talked about healing from a toxic marriage and recognizing the signs of manipulation. It was all complete bullshit, total fabrication, but it was gaining traction. The comments were full of support from people who didn't know the real story. "You're so brave. I went through the same thing. Men like that never change." And some of these supporters, these strangers who knew nothing about our marriage, were starting to reach out to mutual acquaintances, asking questions, spreading doubt. I called Steve immediately. "She's defaming me online. What can I do?" "Document everything," Steve said, his voice calm and professional as always. "Screenshots, timestamps, URLs. If she makes any specific false claims, we can pursue a defamation suit. But Alex, vague posts about toxic relationships are hard to prosecute. She's being careful not to name you directly or make claims we can disprove. So she just gets to lie about me? For now, yeah, keep documenting. If she slips up and says something actionable, we'll move. But right now, the best thing you can do is not engage." I hung up feeling furious. After everything, she was trying to flip the script and make herself the victim. Then came the real gut punch. 3 days later, my boss called me into his office. Margaret Holloway from HR was there too, sitting with a folder in front of her. "Alex," my boss said carefully, "we need to talk. HR received an anonymous complaint about your behavior toward women." My blood went cold. "What kind of complaint?" Margaret opened the folder. "The complaint alleges a pattern of controlling behavior and emotional manipulation. No specific incidents, just general concerns about your conduct." I knew exactly who'd sent it. Jenna, or one of her new online supporters. "This is bullshit," I said flatly. "My ex-wife is running a social media campaign against me because I divorced her for cheating. This is retaliation." My boss nodded. "We suspected as much. Your record here is spotless, Alex. But we have to investigate. It's procedure." For 2 weeks, I was under scrutiny at work. For 2 weeks, I endured the investigation. Colleagues looked at me differently in the hallways. Not hostile, just uncertain. Like they were trying to reconcile the guy they'd worked with for 5 years with this anonymous complaint about controlling behavior toward women. My boss kept reassuring me it was just procedure. "We know it's nothing, Alex. Your record is spotless. Just let HR do their thing." But I felt it. The weight of suspicion, the sideways glances, the way conversations would pause when I walked into the break room. They interviewed my team members, my previous assistants, women I'd worked with on projects. Every single one of them said the same thing: professional, respectful, never inappropriate. After 2 weeks, Margaret called me back into her office. "You're cleared," she said. There was nothing to substantiate the complaint. Frankly, I think we all know where it came from. "Yeah," I said flatly. "My ex-wife, who's running a social media campaign painting herself as a victim." Margaret nodded sympathetically. "I'm sorry you're going through this. For what it's worth, everyone we interviewed spoke highly of you." I should have felt relieved, vindicated. But all I felt was tired, because Jenna had found a way to hurt me even in defeat. Even after losing everything, her marriage, her friends, her reputation, she'd still managed to drag me through the mud at my workplace, to plant seeds of doubt in the minds of people I worked with every day. The damage was done. That night, I sat in my apartment with the lights off, and I realized something. This would never really be over, not unless I made a clean break. Not just legally, emotionally, geographically. I needed to leave. I was doom-scrolling through Jenna's latest TikTok, some bullshit about recognizing gaslighting tactics, when my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. But something made me pick up. "Alex, man, it's Vince. Vince Taylor. We went to college together?" It took me a second. Vince Taylor. We'd been in the same business program, lost touch after graduation. "Vince? Yeah, of course. How are you?" "Good, good. Listen, I heard you got divorced. I'm sorry, man. That sucks." Word really did travel. "Yeah, it's been rough." "I bet. Look, I'm actually calling because I have a proposition for you." Vince's voice shifted into business mode. "My company's opening a new office in Seattle. I need someone to run it, someone I can trust, and I immediately thought of you. You interested?" Seattle. 3,000 miles from here. 3,000 miles from Jenna. From her social media campaigns. From colleagues who'd look at me and wonder if maybe there was something to that anonymous complaint. A fresh start. A promotion. "When do you need an answer?" I asked. "Take a week. Think about it." "But Alex?" Vince paused. "I know you're going through hell right now. I get it. But sometimes the best revenge is just living well, you know?" I hung up and looked around my apartment. At the half-empty takeout containers on the counter. At my phone, still showing Jenna's latest victim post. At the life I'd been living for the past 2 months, obsessively documenting her lies, checking her social media, waiting for her next move. Vince was right. I'd been so focused on revenge that I'd forgotten to actually move forward. The next day, I deactivated my social media. All of it. Facebook, Instagram, everything. I stopped checking Jenna's posts, stopped caring what she said about me, because anyone who mattered knew the truth. And anyone who believed her bullshit without asking me directly, they weren't worth my energy. I called Vince back. "I'm in. When do I start?" "That's what I like to hear. How's 6 weeks? That give you enough time to wrap things up there?" 6 weeks is perfect. For the first time in months, I felt something other than anger or emptiness. I felt hope. 3 weeks later, I was packing up my apartment. Steve came by to help me deal with the last legal loose ends. "Seattle's a good move," he said, taping up a box of books. "Fresh start. You deserve it." "Thanks for everything, Steve. Seriously. That's what friends are for." He grinned. "Plus, you paid me very well." There was a knock at the door. I opened it to find Daniel Harrison standing there with a bottle of whiskey. "Heard you're leaving town," Daniel said. "Thought I'd stop by, say goodbye. Thank you for the business." I invited him in. "Thank you for helping me get the truth." Daniel set the whiskey on the counter and looked at me seriously. "Finding the truth is my job, Alex. That's what you pay me for. But what you did after you got that truth. Standing up for yourself, not backing down, not letting her turn you into a victim." He shook his head. "That was all you, and that took guts." We shook hands. Daniel left. And I looked around at the boxes, the half-empty apartment, the life I was leaving behind. I had one last thing to do before I left town. I pulled out my phone and called Jenna. She answered on the third ring. "Alex?" She sounded surprised, cautious. "I'm leaving town," I said. "New job. But before I go, I want to talk to you. In person. One last time." Silence. Then, "Okay, where?" "That coffee shop on Maple Street. Tomorrow at 2. Public place. Neutral ground. I'll be there." I hung up and finished packing. Tomorrow, I'd close this chapter for good. I got to the coffee shop 15 minutes early, ordered a black coffee I didn't really want, sat at a table by the window where I could see the street. My bags were already in the car. My apartment was empty. Keys left with the landlord. Everything I owned that mattered was either in my trunk or already shipped to Seattle. This was it. The last piece of my old life. Jenna walked in at exactly 2 o'clock. She looked different. Thinner, maybe. Tired. Her hair was pulled back in a ponytail instead of styled the way she used to wear it. No makeup. She spotted me and walked over, her hands fidgeting with her purse strap. "Alex?" She sat down across from me. "You wanted to talk?" "I'm moving to Seattle," I said. No preamble. No small talk. New job, new life. "I wanted to tell you in person because despite everything, we spent 8 years together." Her face went pale. "You're leaving? You're actually leaving?" "Yeah, I am." I leaned forward, keeping my voice level. "And I want you to know something before I go." She waited, her eyes already starting to glisten. "You broke my trust. You humiliated me. You lied to me for months. And when I called you out on it, when I stood up for myself, you tried to play victim. You tried to paint me as the bad guy. You started a whole campaign online to make me look like I was abusive, controlling, toxic." I let that sit for a second. "But none of it worked, Jenna. The people who matter know the truth. Your reputation is trashed. Your friends abandoned you. Todd used you and dumped you the second things got complicated. And me? I'm getting promoted. I'm moving to one of the most beautiful cities in the country. I'm starting over." Tears spilled down her cheeks. "Alex, I'm not saying this to be cruel," I continued. "I'm saying it because you need to hear it. Actions have consequences. You made choices, and those choices cost you everything. Not because I was vindictive, not because I'm a bad person, but because you genuinely treated people like garbage. Me, Carmen. Our friends. Everyone was just collateral damage in whatever midlife crisis you were having." "I'm sorry," she whispered. Her voice broke. "I'm so sorry. I was selfish and stupid, and I threw away the best thing in my life." "Yeah," I said quietly. "You did." I stood up, picked up my coffee cup even though I hadn't finished it, looked down at her one last time. "I hope you figure yourself out, Jenna. I really do. But you're not my problem anymore." I walked out, didn't look back, didn't wait to see if she'd call after me, just walked straight to my car, got in, and drove. Straight to the airport. I'd booked an evening flight deliberately, wanted to leave the same day, didn't want to spend another night in this city, in this state, anywhere near the life I was closing the door on. Security was quick. I grabbed a sandwich at a terminal restaurant I'd never eat at again, boarded the plane and found my window seat. As we taxied to the runway, I looked out at the city lights starting to flicker on in the dusk. Somewhere down there, Jenna was probably still sitting in that coffee shop, maybe still crying, maybe texting someone about what I'd said, maybe posting something vague and self-pitying online. I didn't care. The plane lifted off, and I watched the city grow smaller. The buildings, the streets, the whole life I'd built that had turned to ash in one dinner party. It all shrank away below me until it was just scattered lights in the darkness. I turned away from the window, pulled out the book I'd bought at the airport bookstore, opened it to the first page. For the first time in months, maybe the first time since that dinner party, I felt genuinely at peace. The flight attendant came by with the drink cart. "Can I get you anything, sir?" "Yeah," I said. "Whiskey. Neat." She poured it. I raised the plastic cup slightly, a private toast to myself, to fresh starts, to consequences, to refusing to be a victim. I smiled, a real, genuine smile. I was finally free. I believe stories such as this find us for a reason. If this one touches you, please subscribe. I share a new one every day. In the meantime, there are 2 stories on the screen that are even better.